Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning.
I-
Okay, let's go to the Chumash of today, which is holding on chapter 19, verse number 15. Leisaso avol b'mishpat. Do not commit injustice in mishpat, in judgment. Leisisa fnei gdol, you're not allowed to favor a poor man. Leisada pnei gadol, and you're not allowed to respect a great man. It said that Tishbet Mesecha, you should always judge everybody in righteousness. Now she says, this verse teaches us that a judge who corrupts the law is called unjust, hated, and disgusting, fit to be destroyed, an abomination. Or an unjust person is called an abomination, as the verse says, whoever does these things, whoever perpetuates such injustice is an abomination to God. And an abomination is called in the Torah chedem, something doomed for destruction. And a disgusting thing, as the verse says, nor should you bring an abomination into your house. You should be destroyed. Chedem is like it. But you shall be utterly detestable, you should hate it. An abomination is called hated, as it says, for every abomination to be the Lord which he hates. This means that you shall not say, this is a poor man, and the rich man is obligated to provide for him with sustenance. So therefore, I'll quit him in judgment, and he will be sustained respectfully. You're not allowed to do that. This means you're not allowed to say this man is a rich man, son of a prominent people. How can I embarrass him and behold his shame? And I will surely be punished for act. Therefore, the scripture says, or respect a great man. You shall judge your fellow in righteousness. This is being understood according to its apparent simple meaning. Another explanation, judge your fellow favorably. The Mishnah says, person should be always judged in the favor way. Verse number 16. Do not go around gossip mongering amongst your people. Should not stand on the blood of your fellow man's blood. Ani Hashem, I am God. Now she says, I say that since there are those who instigate quarrels and speak evil, talk, go hilchim into their friends' houses in order to spy l'ragel that evil can be there, or what evil they can hear, to tell in the marketplace. They are called hilchei rachel, those who go about spying. A proof for my words is that we don't find anywhere in scripture later where the word rechilus is used without the expression of halicha, going. They say lech rachel. We have it later Jeremiah hilchei rachel, a copper with an expression of evil talk. However, Torah does not mention halicha, going. He who slanders his fellow in secret and is a deceitful tongue, and a tongue that speaks great things. Therefore, I say the expression of Rachel is an expression of going around and spying, meragel, like a spy, whose letter Chaf of the word Rachel is interchanged with the letter Gimel, Ragil. All letters which stem from the same source are interchangeable with one another. The letter from the same speech organs, namely the lips, tongue, speech, and palate, throat. For example, the letter Beis is your lips, is interchangeable with letter Fei. And the letter Gimel is interchangeable with letter Chaf, the guttural. The letter Kuf is interchangeable with the letter Nun. I'm sorry, as the letter Kuf, Chaf, and Gimel. The letter Lamed, Nun, can be interchanged with the letter Lamed, the tongue. and the letter Reish and Zayin are interchangeable with Tzaddik. Similar, the following verses illustrates how Rogel is employed in connection with slander, just as Rachel in our verse. As a slander by Yargel, your servants, and Shmuel Hanavi, he spied deceitful to say evil about me. And likewise, he who slandered Rogel with his tongue. And likewise, the word Rachel means a merchant who goes around spying. The Ragel, merchandise, someone who sells perfume, which women beautify themselves. Since he constantly goes around in towns, he's called a Rachel, equivalent to the word Regel, one who spies. You shall not eat food, winking, figurative expression for slander. And as it's brought on Daniel, they ate their wood winking concerning the Jews, meaning it informed against the Jews. He ate the food of winking concerning him to the king's palace, meaning he informed against him to the king. Why is the expression eating the food of winking used and it signifies slander? It appears to me that the practice of those informers of slander to eat some sort of small snack at the house of those who listen to their words, or this eating acts as a gesture of final reinforcement that the slander words were indeed well-founded and that he maintained them as truth. This snack then is referred to Achilas Ketzurin. The Ketzurin relates to the Torah as he winks, kaitzer with his eye. So is the way of those who go around speaking evil, talk, to wink with their eyes, thereby alluding to the slanderous words that other people listening will not understand. Mean, do not stand by watching your fellow's death. You'll be able to save him. For example, if he's drowning in the river, or wild beasts or robbers are coming upon him, don't walk away. Ani Hashem, I'll repay your reward for this mitzvah. Verse 17, you should not hate your brother in your heart. You should surely rebuke your fellow. And you shall not bear sin on his account. What does that mean? She says that if you have to rebuke somebody, you shouldn't embarrass him. Meaning, in the course of your rebuke, you're not allowed to embarrass him in public. Verse 18, you're not allowed to take revenge nor bear a grudge. It's B'nai Amecha, the people of the members of your people. To love thy neighbor as thyself, Ani Hashem. Verse Rashi says, for examples, one, if you said to him, lend me your sickle, and he says no, the next day he comes to you and he asks you for your axe. You don't say to him, I'll not lend it to you just like you didn't lend it to me. This is Nakama, revenge. And what is the concept of a grudge? For example, if he says to him, lend me your axe, and the other guy says no, and the next day the other guy comes to him and says, lend me your sickle, and he says, here is it, I'll give you the sickle, but it's not like you, I'm not like you. Well, yesterday I asked for the axe and you said no, I'm better than you. And that's called Lai Sitar. Do not bear a grudge against somebody else. So that's for keeping hatred in your heart, even though he does not take revenge. You got to get away hatred from your heart. Now she says, Rabbi Kiva said, this is a fundamental principle. Verse 19, you should observe my statutes. Do not crossbreed your livestock with different species. You don't sow your field in mixture of seeds. Ubeged claim, and a garment which had a mixture of shatnez. Lo yala lechi, you're not allowed to wear a garment that has a mixture of shatnez. Shatnez is a specific kind of garment. Rashi will say, as some cases, you have to follow my statutes. These are the following. You should not crossbreed your livestock. This is a hookah. There's no reason why you're not allowed to do that. Just like you're not allowed to mix wool and linen together, shot the wool and linen together. It's a hookah. Term chukim statute refers to the decrees of the king. There's no rationality, and therefore the world does it. The world mixes breeds of animals. That's why you have a mule, and the world mixes breeds of vegetation, fruits. Beged klein. The truth is, they don't have an Aveda to do that. They can do that. There's not one of the 7 Noahide laws that they have this obligation. Why is it stated? Since the Torah says you should not wear a mixture of wool and linen together later in Deuteronomy, I might think that one may not wear even shearings of wool beaten together with stalks of linen. Therefore, the Torah says a garment, thus excluding pieces of wool and linen combined together, which don't form a garment. So it has to be a garment. How do we know that includes in this prohibition is also felt, although it's not a garment, only a belt? Therefore, the Torah imposed the word shatnez. Shatnez. It's an acronym for the term shu, which means combined, tu means spun, and nuz, which is woven. And nuz is twisted, meaning even if the materials in question are combed, spun, and twined together, although it does not form a garment, and I say that the term nuz denotes a material made from fibers which have been stretched and twined together in order to join them together. And similar to the term employed in the Talmud, fit for use because of hard, dry seeds, noise, that they have. A term which explains as the meaning hardened, just as fibers of noise cloth become hardened when they are entwined together. So it's a combination of wool and linen. It's called shatnez. Now, Rashi just says it has to be a garment, even if it's a belt. A belt is considered a tachshit. It's also considered a garment. Anything that's a garment doesn't have to be a shirt only, or a suit, or a dress. But even if it's a belt, it's also considered a garment. But if it's not a garment, you put 2 pieces of linen and wool together, and it's less than the size of a garment, it's not considered a garment. Verse 20. Yishkav isha sheisha shivcha ish ishki yishkav seisha shivcha zera. A man lies kindly with a woman, and she is a handmaid. He shivcha nechrefes, but she is engaged. She's married to another man. They have the lane of dasa, and she was not fully redeemed. Or she was not given her freedom from her servitude. We shall investigate. They should not be put to death. Because she's not a free woman. Now she says, nechrefes, designated specifically for a particular man. Regarding the word nechrefes, I don't know the term resembling it in anywhere in Torah. Nechrefes. Torah is speaking about a Canaanite handmaid, partially a handmaid and partially a free woman. Meaning she belongs to 2 partners. There's a whole Gemara in this. And the Gemara, the Talmud comes that the Torah is talking about a very, very specific case. And it's talking about a case with a person, with a woman, a non-Jewish woman, is a slave to 2 people. And one of them freed her. And the other one didn't free her. So she's a half-freed person, a half-maid. So to her freedom, she's a married woman. To her maid, she's an unmarried woman. To the one that she's a maid. So therefore, that's why you learn the Gemara that the rabbis will ultimately force the person that has her as a maid to free her. But we're talking about it as a specific case that did happen before she was freed by the other person, and she had a relationship with somebody. They have to learn the Abduya, V'Abduya, Ve'ein Abduya. Means she is redeemed, but not redeemed. And when the qualified term pidya, redemption, is employed, it means redeemed with money. Or she's redeemed with a document. What does it mean? Which result in the woman bringing lashes, but not the man. The court is obligated to investigate the matter in order not to sentence him or her to death, since she is not completely freed. And therefore, a marriage is not completely binding. The rabbis have learned from this verse, whoever is sentenced to lashes, and this woman, those lashes should be accompanied with recitation, meaning derived from B'Kodesh. So the word B'Kodesh here is expounded to mean that she is given lashes with the Kodesh, with recitation. And what does the recitation refer to here? Is that the judges who mete out the lashes shall recite to the one receiving them, if you will not observe the following words of the Torah, the Lord will bring upon you uniquely horrible plagues. So they would say the verse, Tayano Hamalkin, the ones who give her lashes had to say the verse, but it's him lashes or her lashes in general, the laws of lashes, 39 lashes. They would have to say the verse in Leish Tishma. And therefore the man is not liable for death penalty because of his intimacy with her. Since her marriage is not binding, she's half slave. Follows then, and if she had been freed, her marriage would have been binding, and he would have been reliable. He would have been punished by death because he had a relationship with a total married woman. Hey, he shall bring a guilt offering to God. Pesach made. Hey, Hashem, this Jewish man needs to bring a carbon that he did a sin. The Kohen will forgive him with the sacrifice. Now Hashem al chatasa yashachata. We're talking about he did something unintentionally, a mistake. He didn't know that she was a free woman. And should be forgiven for this. Rashi says, actually, the apparently superfluous phrase for the sin that he committed is written to include intentional sinner like an unintentional sinner, insofar as atonement is affected by bringing a guilt offering. Verse 23, when you come to the land of Israel, you'll plant a tree, a fruit tree, and you shall surely block its fruit from use. Surely shadnim for the first 3 years. It shall be not eaten. Arelim is forbidden, blocked. It should not be eaten. Orla, first 3 years of a tree, you're not allowed to eat. She says you shall block them, they shall be blocked, meaning its fruit shall be blocked and closed up from deriving benefit from. 3 years is considered blocked. From when does one start counting this 3-year period? The time of its planting. One might think that if one stores away the fruit, produce, of the first 3 years, after the first 3 years have been elapsed, the fruit becomes permissible. I'm going to pickle the fruit. Therefore, the Torah tells us it shall be, the fruit shall remain forbidden status. Any fruit for the first 2 years is forbidden from use. Then you come to Neta Levite. This is the 4th year. Shana Avius year Kol Piyah Kodesh. And in the 4th year, the fruits are all holy. Ilulim Hashem, praise to the Lord. Rashi says, that's like the second tithing, concerning which it's written. The tithing of the land, the holy is the Lord. Every year, you have to give Ma'aser Sheni, you have to bring up fruits to Yerushalayim. Just that the tithing not be eaten outside the walls of Yerushalayim, except after being redeemed. So is this. And this is the thing that prays to the Lord, so he carries it there to Yerushalayim, to bring it up to the Beit, to bring it to Beis, to eat it, or not to bring it to Beis Midrash, actually eat it in Yerushalayim. Verse 25. Bashana Chamish, in the 5th year, Techles Piya, you can eat its fruit. La'islechem Tvua, so to bring it increases your produce. Ani Hashem Lekechem, I am God. Ash says this commandment, which we'll observe, will be in order to increase the produce for you, because it's a reward. I'll bless you that the fruits of your planting. Abba Akiva used to say, the Torah states, this to counter man's evil inclination, so that a person should not say, for 4 years I suffered with this tree for nothing. The Torah therefore tells us, don't worry, you didn't suffer anything, because in the 5th year, you're going to have this tree. If you do this mitzvah in the 5th year, this tree is going to give you an abundance. Verse 26. Lo yiseichel adam, shall not eat over the blood. Lo yisenachshu. Lo yiseinu, you shall not act on the basis of omens, and you shall not, or lucky hours. She says this verse is expounded in many different ways in the Gemara. And as follows: A, it's a warning that one should not eat from the flesh of the holy sacrifice before sprinkles blood. Number 2, it's a warning anybody who eats from an ordinary animal before the soul contained in this blood has fully departed. And in many ways, and in many, many more ways, it's expounded. Also, one of the reasons why we don't eat, according to Ashkenazi, on this verse, in a mourner's home. When people are mourning at the death of their loved ones, don't eat in their homes. Those who interpret the sounding of or action of a weasel or a bird, omens, he saw a black cat, he saw this, he saw that. Those who interpret bread falling from his mouth or a deer crossing his path, they say that this proves something or shows something. The Yid is not allowed to believe in that. Expression denotes a nice hours. One would say such and such an auspicious being to your work, and such hour is bad. This hour is good, that hour is bad. Verse 27. Shall not round the corners of your head. You now destroy the edge of your beards. Now says this refers to someone cutting his hair in such a way that makes his hair, his temples even more even with behind his ear with his forehead. To make sure that you don't cut high this area. To leave from this area going down. That's your payas. By causing the hairline surrounding his head becoming like a circle with these monks that make the head a circle. Since the main hairline behind the ears is such higher than the level of the hair of his temple. So you want to make your hair like a circle. Azancha, the ends of the beard and its borders, and there are 5, 2 on each cheek at the top, the edge of the cheek near the head, where the cheek is broad, and 2, meaning extremities, 1 near the temple, and the other at the end of the cheek bone towards the center of the face, and 1 below the chin at the point where the 2 cheeks come together. So you have to know exactly what this means. It's hard to know exactly where this goes, and that's why many of us don't touch the beard. It said at Lonefesh, you shall not make cuts of flesh for a person who died. You shall not etch a tattoo on oneself. Rashi says this is the practice of the Amorites to cut their flesh when a person related of them died. Sevis kaka, expression etched and sunken, never to be erased. But one etches it with a needle and it remains permanently black. Kaka is an expression, and as the verse says in it, Uhuka, hanged them, sinking in. He will hang. He will sink them. They would thrust a pole into the ground and hang the guilty person. This way, one hanged would appear as if he's just thirted and thrust into the ground. The word taga denotes etched and sunk into the skin, as the pole is sunk into the ground. Verse 29. Not to follow your daughter as nicer to make her a harlot. Is the world, the land will become immoral. Zima, and the land will become full of immorality. Ash says this is a person who hands over his unmarried daughter to have a relationship, not for the purpose of marriage. Sister started. If you do so, the land will cause its fruit to go astray. Mezana, reducing them elsewhere, and not near land. Thus the verse says, you defy the land which you're hollow to. Therefore, the rains will not withhold. Verse 30. As Avshay said to Shmeirim, shall observe my Shabbos, Mikdashi Tero, and shall revere my sanctuary. Ash says, one may not enter the temple manner with his walking staff, his shoes, his money belt, or with dust on his feet. Although I warn you regarding the holiness of the sanctuary, says God, nevertheless, you shall observe my Shabbos. Construction of the sanctuary should not precede the laws of Shabbos. Aftifnu al avis v'leyedenim. Do not turn to sorcery of Oiv and Yedeni. Al tevakshlu tababem. You should not seek these and thereby purify yourself, defile yourself. Ani Hashem Elokeich. These were specific kinds of worships. Oiv and Yedeni. This is a warning against any practice of sorcery of Oiv and Yedeni. And what are the forms of sorcery? One was practice sorcery of Oiv is the rhythm of sorceries, of sources. He communicates with the dead, as it were, by raising the spirits of the dead, which then speaks from his armpit. And one who practices sorcery of Yedeni inserts a bone of a creature called Yedoda, into his mouth, and the bone speaks. To occupy yourself with these types of sorcery, or if you do occupy yourself with them, you become defiled before me, and I deem you an abomination. I am God, your God. You know whom you're exchanging for whom, meaning who you exchange the Lord your God for these futile sorceries. Verse 32. For an old man you shall stand up. You shall respect the elderly. You shall fear God. Ani Hashem, I am God. Hashem, they say with talking, one might think that the commandment refers to rising before an old person, even though he may be guilty. He's a rasha, a wicked person. Therefore, the Torah says, Zaki. The word Zaki refers to one who's acquired wisdom. The same term refers to great, wise men, and therefore not guilty of transgression. What means you should respect the elderly? What is the man you respect? The elderly. One may not sit in his place, speaking instead when the elder one speaks, contradicting him, since one is obligated to rise before the elderly. Only when the latter enters within one's 4 cubits. One may think that he may close his eyes when the elder approaches, as if he did not see him, thus evade the obligation to rise before him. If the Torah says you shall fear God, these matters is privately known between one who commits it, and no one knows about it except the person himself. Suddenly he fell asleep. Concerning any matter of known in the heart of one person, the Torah says, you shall fear your God. I know what's in your heart. That completes the Chumash of today. Now continue the Tanya. We are holding chapter 44 in Tanya. And the Alter Rebbe is continuing to explain the concept, how what kind of Ava I should create in my life. As he explained, there are three concepts in love. The love of instinct, what's given to you by the office, by the patriarchs. The love of einig, the love of delight, which is given to a tzaddik, or a true righteous person to reach the level of awness of God, highest level of all God. And then you have the love that most of us should have, and that's the love of thought. That I create a love by thinking about a God, by contemplating and meditating, and this is an avodah. And that's how the Rebbe says. The Akshafa became even I have the lower love, the first love, the instinctual love, which every Jew has, an Ava Mesuteres. Every Jew has a hidden love. But that's not enough. Nevertheless, a person must train his intellect to apprehend to attain the above mentioned level of Abba Seichel. I love God through my Seichel, through my intellect. And a scaleless level, which I mentioned before. Abba is abundance, which comes from my knowledge, understanding the greatness of God. So as such, it differs from my soul and like a son, which essentially is inherited and only revealed through contemplation. I want a love that I create, not a love that I reveal, but a love that I create in my own mind. In order to fan the blaze of the fairy love with glowing clothes, and like a flame that rises heavenward. Till them, as the verse says, the many waters, that even an unbelievable flood will come towards me, try to drown me, which is the enemy of this love. They cannot extinguish it, because the love that I create with my own mind is a burning, true love to me. And the rivers, no river can quench it. So love created fury as a result of contemplation is more passionate than the love which is essential inherited. Even when the inherited love is revealed through contemplation. I want to create my own Abbas Hashem with my own mind. I don't want to have the love that's inherited to me. I want a love that I understand, because then it becomes real. And it becomes real to me, and now it becomes like a burning fire. Yes, Yishnu Maila is the Bechinas Avikrish base. Because there's a superiority and an excellence, the quality of love burning like a fierce coals, an intense flame, a bombas bonavidas that comes from my understanding and my knowledge. Dula says, but with the greatness of God. I'll stay bechinas avos on the two loves that I mentioned before. The love that's in your inherited soul, the love that if God will give you a love of the light, is not the love of my burning fire. When I have love that I create in my mind and I comprehend because I thought about it and I understood it and I feel it. That's a love that is unbreakable. That's the love that God is waiting for. Even for a tzaddik, God is waiting for a love that awakens up the person, and therefore whatever God will throw at him, not going to change it. Won't change it. Something that I understand, that I take upon myself, something that's not given to me, something that I worked on, and I created this love. That's a love that will stand all situations. It's an expression in the Gemara. A person will enjoy much more 1 cubit of his own success than 10 cubits of somebody else's. That 1 cubit is more powerful than 10 cubits that he's given with somebody else. That's his. That he acquired, he'll know he always acquired. And that's what I love more than anything else. Because it's not a fire. It doesn't come through fire. Your love that you receive, the love that I received from my grandfather, I received. I got it as a gift. And that's when people abuse gifts. But they got it as a gift anyway. Something that I worked for is something that I'm going to cherish. And Mary Lazota filling contemplation, God's closest to a Jew, so much as he is the source of his life with your father. Superiority of this love is it's like the superiority of gold over silver. I'll explain further. Not only is gold worth more than silver, ounce for ounce, in which case a pre-respondent of silver will be more valuable, but gold is strictly of greater value in that it possesses an instinctive gleam which people find highly attractive. It has a fire. Gold has a fire. So, to regard to the love that results wholly from contemplation is not a higher level of love. On the contrary, the level of love that comes from above is termed Ava Rabba, great love, is the higher form of love. The superiority of love that results entirely from contemplation relies in its fierce passion. So, right, Ava Rabba might be a great love, but we're looking for passion. We're looking for the feeling of passion and the yearning of the soul. This is one reason why the 2 previous mentioned kinds of love that a Jew inherited do not suffice. They lack the passion when compared to the love emanating entirely from one's intellect. One's intellect creates his passion. The Rebbe, one of the reasons why he put the Chacham near the Rasha, because he should learn passion. A Chacham could be very cold. He might be a Chacham, he might be very high wisdom, but he's cold. And he needs to learn passion. That he shouldn't just take Yiddishkeit and his delight in godliness and his delight in wisdom in a cold way. He needs to become passionate. The Rebbe now provides yet another reason why the holy contemplative love is necessary. It's important to attain contemplative love, not only because it's superior, but resulting of passion, because contemplating is an end unto itself. By contemplating God's greatness, one fulfills the whole purpose of creation. That created beings should become to know and understand God's greatness. We can't just base it on a faith, oh, we are a Jew because we are a Jew. Oh, we have this instinct love. That's what the Eibishter brought into the world, that you should have an instinct love, or that you should have a love of the light that's above the world. The Eibishter brought you to the world that you should make this world a abode for him, and you should yourself become an abode for God. And that will only come about if I create an understanding of godliness. And the second reason, besides that it creates a passion within me, that's what I was created for. I was created to know the knowledge of God. And the majestic splendor. Yakar is majestic, Tiferes is splendor. You lost of his greatness. Every person to his capacity. That's why that's why God brought me into the world. The Eibishter brought me into the world that me as a human being with my own thought to become connected and have a relation with God. And that relation doesn't come because, Oh, because I was born that way. It comes because I created that way. I make it that way. I create that reality. How do I create that reality? Is if I contemplate it, if I understand it, if I know it. Each person according to his capability. Rosh Hashanah brought on in the Mehem, the Zayah Pash, begin the Shtamud in order that they may know him. The reason why I came to the world is that I should know God. That's the first commandment. Adas is Hashem. Anechi Hashem Elokecha. I am God, your God. You have to come to the knowledge that I'm God, your God. Just to have an amunah is not enough. We need to have Ladas Hashem. That's why Abishta gave me a brain. That's why God gave me a brain. That's why God gave me the concept of intellect. Not that I should know only intellectual things of the world, that I should know God. Kaneda, as it is known. Thus, is a special quality and the purpose of contemplating that leads to love itself. Contemplating of God's greatness is the exercise to a much degree in the love that is created from contemplation. Then it's found the love merely revealed by contemplation. I'm not trying to reveal a love that I have. I'm trying to make a love. I'm trying to create a love. So I'm trying to create a new love. My contemplation creates a new love. It's based on my knowledge, this love, not on something that was given to me, not on something that's something God's going to give to me. It's me. So that's one of the questions that is asked from you is, what of you? I want to know what you think. I don't want you to know. I don't want to hear what I think. I want to hear what each and every one of us thinks. Not that we should say, oh, I have no thought. My father gave it to me. I love God because of Abraham. That's the greatness of Abraham. What's the greatness of you? What is my greatness? And I have to come up with that answer. How do I think about God? How do I love God? So in order to merely reveal love of my soul, I contemplate God as a true source of life, whether it reveals love like a son. I contemplate God as a true father. One meditation need not exceedingly be profound. Simple. A much deeper understanding, a more profound mode of meditation is necessary in order to create a love of God solely based on intellectual comprehension. How do I create a love of God based on my knowledge? Not on somebody else's inheritance, not on the son, not Abraham's love, my own love. How do I love God? That's a new love. That's why this new love has a burning fire, because it's mine. So it has two qualities. It has a fire, and number two, it's mine. And that's what we want. The Eibishter wants to hear your love, not something that Abraham gave you, that you were given at birth, or a love that I'll give you as a gift. They're great, but they're not yours. And the Eibishter came down, brought you down to the world, not only to inherit things, but to make things, to do things, create something, create a connection, create a love of a God in your life. That's the beauty. As a result of divine intention, they shall know me, know him. That created beings come to know godliness is realized to a much greater extent through a holy contemplative love. This is the additional reason as why the kinds of love inherited from the patriarchs does not suffice. It's necessary to exert oneself to attain God's love that stems entirely in the contemplation of his greatness. What a beautiful teaching, Tanya. And we end chapter 44 of Tanya today. Today is the 6th day of the month, which is chapter 35 to chapter 38. Stay those 4 chapters of Psalms, you do the Chitas. I wish you all a beautiful day. Mitchum, today, 10 o'clock, we'll do a class either in Chabad or on Zoom or on Torah Direct on the portion of the week. Sicha, teaching of the Rebbe on the portion. Have a wonderful day. Have a great day.